Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Sunday Drive podcast brought to you by scvarsity.com. I am Jim Baxter, and it is week one. Football is back. Once again, Mother Nature tried to put a damper on things by bringing some rain and lightning to the week one season, and we had some postponements on Friday night. Those games resumed on Saturday, and they got them in. Of course, the Dutch Fork Mallard Creek game that everyone was looking at was actually canceled at the point in the fourth quarter where it was a 27-27 tie. So while the Dutch Fork win streak does not remain intact, they still have not lost a game in 2 years. So that's pretty good. I'm going to go over the scores real quick so we can get that out of the way. Midland scores: AC Flora 37-21, Batesburg Leesville 21, Ridge Spring Minetta 0, Ben Lippen 41, Pinewood Prep 6. Calhoun Academy knocks off Northside Christian in 8-man football 54-14. Camden 64, North Central 21, Cardinal Newman 42, John Paul II out of the Low Country 6. Dutch Fork, as I said, 27, Mallard Creek 27, Gilbert 62, Gray Collegiate 48, in a game that sounded like a Big 12 game with no defense as you followed that on Friday night, and then the continuation on Saturday. Johns Creek, Georgia 44, Fairfield Central 6, Lexington 21, Irmo 6. That was a game that was postponed Friday night and finished Saturday morning. Lower Richland 41, Swansea 39. Lugoff Elgin upset 12-8 over Westwood. Big game, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Mid Carolina 27, Whitmire 0. River Bluff 43, Fort Mill 3, but not without a cost as River Bluff loses their quarterback. What I heard was an ACL injury. I'm not positive on that, have to confirm it, but at any rate, their quarterback did go out, but they got good play out of their backup quarterback in that game and won easily. Robert E. Lee 26, Heathwood Hall 20 in a close game. Saluda 22, Strom Thurmond 21 in what most people around the state would consider an upset. Sumter 28, Rock Hill 21. This Rock Hill team is very much improved over the last 2 or 3 years. Wagner Sally 46, Pillion 2, White Knoll 27, Brooklyn Casey 13, and another game that was postponed from Friday night and resumed Saturday. That one actually resumed at 1 o'clock on Saturday. Sunday games, which will be later today, Hammond and Southern Columbia, Pennsylvania, will be starting up in just a little while. Monday's games that were postponed from Friday night, Blythewood and Ridgeview. Ridgeview will be at Blythewood in a game that's probably going to be a little bit more fierce than just a regular rivalry. They are rivals, but with all of the stuff that's been going in and out of the news on recruiting, I don't think that those teams like each other very much right now. Eau Claire will be hosting Louisville also Monday night. That was another game that was postponed. So as we look at the games, I picked all the games, and not counting, this is only including the games that have been finished so far. I went 14-2 on Saturday with this week's picks, and I guess I want to talk about the ones that the two games that surprised me, the ones that I lost. Lugoff Elgin 12-8 over Westwood was a shocker. If you watched Lugoff Elgin in 2018 at all, you recognize that this is a far better team than the product that they had on the field last season. They had lost a lot to attrition last year, along with the fact that they moved up to 5A, and they really struggled. They got a solid ground game, Friday night out of Eli McGee, and he put them in the win column. I'm still not sold on this team as far as being able to win a region game in 5A this year. I just think that their region's tough. I still think they're a little bit, they have a little ways to go to develop and be able to compete on a week-to-week basis in 5A. And they got a pretty good region. I mean, if you look at the teams in that region, I mean, you got Blythewood, Spring Valley. I think Irmo struggled a little bit this week, but I think Irmo is going to get there. They've got a great coaching staff, and I just think it's going to be really tough for Lugoff Elgin to get a win this year in region play. But hats off to them, a great performance and a big upset over a Westwood team that was picked really to finish very well in the 4A class, especially in the Midlands. Saluda over Strom Thurmond 22-21. I got to say, I didn't see this coming. I know how good Saluda is. I love their quarterback, Noah Bell. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the state, certainly one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the state. That said, I didn't think they'd be able to outmuscle a Strom Thurmond team that is year in and year out more physical than the teams that they play against. And I was wrong on this. I mean, Saluda does a great job. Stuart Young, since taking over at Saluda, has turned that program around, and very impressed with what they've been able to do, but certainly impressed with this win. What a way to open the week. So now for the rest of the Midlands games. I'm going to talk about Dutch Fork Mallard Creek for just a minute. The game was disappointing. Disappointed because they didn't finish it. I really felt like Dutch Fork was 2 touchdowns better than this Mallard Creek team. Mallard Creek did something that you don't see very often. Midway, they really were struggling against the Dutch Fork defense, so they left the spread formation that they were running and went to the wishbone and actually had some success with the power game. I'm not sure if they did that to shake things up against the defense, or whether they did it because of the conditions on the ground because of the rain. But at any rate, it was successful. The takeaways from that game, listen, Ty Olenchuk is clearly the best quarterback in the Midlands. Guy threw for close to 300 yards and 4 touchdowns against one of the best defenses in the 2-state Carolina area. 2, Jalen Hyatt, I still say he's the best football athlete in the state of South Carolina, hands down. I don't even think it's worth debating. I've heard people say that, Jordan Birch is the best football athlete in the state. He's certainly the top prospect in the state by every recruiting service that you look at. But I kind of look at it like this. I have seen Jordan Birch blocked by some of the players that he's gone up against. I have not seen Jalen Hyatt covered by anyone. The guy had 6 catches Friday night. 4 of them were touchdowns. I mean, it's very difficult to argue that he is one of the best, if not the best, football athlete in the state of South Carolina as far as domination at his position. And 3, the third takeaway, I think Dutch Fork needs to tighten up its defense against power run schemes. I think that Mallard Creek demonstrated that that is a weakness, that they can put the ball into a power formation and they can move it and move the chains against this team. And I think that's something that they're going to have to work on. That said, I don't think this team, as I predicted in the preseason, I don't think they lose a game this year. AC Flora did not disappoint with their blowout of Beaufort. This team, AC Flora, is far better than I anticipated them being in the spring, and I admit that. I believe they've got to be considered right now a favorite to win that Region 5 in the 4A classification. They're going to get better at the quarterback position. I think that they've already gotten better since spring at the quarterback position, and I think with Perry Orth over there coaching the quarterbacks, I think they're only going to get more polished at that position. They're going to get stronger on offense. They've already got what I feel is probably one of the more underrated players in the Midlands, and Matt Pack at running back. Their defense is already what I think could be the best in the Midlands area. Their defensive front is clearly, in my opinion, the best group of defensive linemen in the area that any one team has. Lexington got a solid win over Irmo. Big rival game. It was 21-6. Both of these teams got a lot to work on. I don't think either team leaves that game looking scary to anyone else on their schedule. That said, I feel like Lexington's ground game was very good. I thought the running backs, Ahmad Bynum Scott and Taylor Matthias, very hard runners. They protect the ball well. They keep their feet moving. They're always going forward, and it's very difficult to say anything negative about the way those two kids run that football. They're going to need to get better against the power run on defense. But I really, like what they're doing on defense. I think their defense is strong. I mean, they barely let Irmo move the chains at all. I think Irmo went to an H-back power formation in the fourth quarter and managed to move the ball a little bit. But even with that formation, they got down to the inside the 15-yard line. Lexington's defense tightened up and they shut them down. So they denied them on that drive. So, they've got, we know they got David Cromer. I think David Cromer was listed as one of my top 5 linebackers in the Midlands area in the preseason. He's still there. But I really liked what I saw out of a junior linebacker, Josiah Hill. This kid's 6'2", 215. Impressive at the inside position. He's got good instincts. He comes downhill really well. Overstrides a little bit on his first step, but I think this is a guy that's going to come into next season as one of the top linebackers in the Midlands for that senior class, for that 2021 class. In all honesty, I kind of felt like Josiah Hill. Airport got a big win over Dreer, 34-7. This outstanding performance by the running backs was really impressive. Bruce Staley, he's going to be a difference maker on this team this year. Had an outstanding game. Rushed for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nanders Lawrence also rushed for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. This Airport team's they got 3 good running backs. I don't think I've seen this good of a set of running backs at Airport in a long time. And I'm talking maybe at least a decade, maybe 2 decades. I take 2 things away from the Gilbert game. Gilbert Gray played to a 62-48 ending. They came back Saturday to finish it. For a while there, it looked like it was just going to be the last team to get the ball was going to win. The first thing I take away from this game, these teams, both of them, defenses, they got to tighten up. It was like a Big 12 game. I mean, it was just score after score after score after score with no defense. The second thing is both these teams' offensive skill players are going to help them win their respective regions. I think Gray wins their region with little trouble, and I think that Gilbert is probably going to win their region with little resistance as well. Quarterback, Hunter Helms for Gray, Jai Tolan for Gilbert. They put on a show for the fans. And, while they both bring a different strength to the game, a different skill, Helms being, a very good passer. He passed for 355 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tolan being, hurting more with his legs. He passed for 358 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he also rushed for a touchdown. I think both these guys are going to be tough for the other teams in the region to contain. Both of them are going to make defensive coordinators that are on their schedule playing for them. Those are highlights from the week. AC Flora, I'm going to go over the best performances. I think best team performance overall was AC Flora. Fiery on the offense, strong on the defense, made them a complete package against Buford. If you look at that game, it was 37-21, but it really wasn't that close. I mean, AC Flora had this thing at hand and probably could have held Buford back from scoring what they did late in the game. But I think AC Flora's best team performance. I think that they've really been the most impressive team that I've seen in the preseason in this first week. Best ground game, Airport, 3 running backs, each one of them with 2 touchdowns each, and 2 of those guys running for over 100 yards, including Bruce Staley, who I just mentioned had over 200 yards. This team's for real. I think that they're in a very good region. Of course, Brooklyn, Casey, North Augusta, South Aiken, who got blown out by Greenwood Friday night, are in that region as well. But I think Airport, they got to share the region crown last year. I think Airport's a contender in that region. I think they could actually win that region this year outright. Best passing game, got to go with Dutch Fork and Ty Olenchuk. I know that there were some guys that threw more yards, but I think Olenchuk and this horde of wide receivers that he has, they did it against Mallard Creek. I mentioned earlier he throws for 300 yards, throws for 4 touchdowns. This air game is very impressive. Best defensive game, I guess it's maybe a little bit surprising, but I'm going to go with Lexington. I think that they played a very athletic football team in Irmo. They only really gave up yards on one drive. Other than that one drive, I don't think Irmo moved the chains at all. I haven't seen the stat line on that game yet, but it was a very dominating performance by the Lexington defense. They did hold the Jackets just 6 points, and they also added a defensive score to that. It was actually very very impressive. performance by everyone on that Lexington defense. I think it was Levi Galassa, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, one of the outside linebackers for Lexington that picked off a pass and returned it 36 yards for a pick six touchdown, and that actually sealed the game for Lexington. I just think that they had the best performance overall. Games this coming week are going to be interesting. First of all, let's talk about the Monday games. I think I mentioned Blythewood and Ridgeview will be playing. Eau Claire and Louisville will be playing as well. But football, week 2, Thursday night game, Columbia will be hosting North Central, who took it on the chin this past week in a bad way by Camden. Camden could get a vote for that impressive offensive performance as well. Friday night games, Union County, very good football team. They lost to Chapman this past week, but they're coming to AC Flora. That's going to be a good game. That'll be a great test for AC Flora. They're going to be facing a very good quarterback from Union County. Airport at Brooklyn Casey. Lugoff Elgin at Camden. This game's more interesting now with Lugoff beating Westwood. We'll get to see maybe is this team for real. They're going to be taking on a tough Camden team. This is a huge rival game. Great game to be at if you don't have anything to do on Friday night. Mid Carolina will be taking on Chapin, geographic rival. I don't think that Mid Carolina and Chapin are evenly matched at all. Of course, Chapin playing in 5A, but that is a rival game, geographic rival, and they're going to continue to play that. Sumter at Crestwood. HKT will be coming to Eau Claire, so Eau Claire will be playing 4 days apart. They'll get the game on Monday night, and they'll turn around and play on Friday night. Lancaster at Fairfield Central. Fairfield Central hoping to bounce back after the loss this past week. Batesburg-Leesville at Gilbert, another rival game. Should be a good one. Rich Spring-Minetta at Saluda. I think Saluda will have a little trouble in that Rich Spring-Minetta game. Keenan at Irmo. C.A. Johnson will be C.A. Johnson will be traveling to Louisville. Dreer will be at Lexington. Carolina Forest coming to Lower Richland. Let me tell you something, folks. If you're going to Lower Richland game, check out Carolina Forest quarterback. Mason Garcia, one of the best quarterbacks in the state of South Carolina. He is a major Division I prospect at the quarterback position, and he can flat sling it. Abbeville coming to Newberry. Calhoun County will be taking on Pillion at Pillion. Wayne Hills, New Jersey, traveling down to take on Ridgeview. So Ridgeview, like Blythewood, they'll be playing 4 days apart. Richland Northeast at River Bluff. Dutch Fork at Spring Valley. Gray Collegiate at Swansea. It should be a good game. Blythewood at Westwood. Cross will be taking on Well Branch. Not sure how that got into my Midlands scores. Great Falls will be at Whitmire. I kind of put Whitmire in the Midlands just because they don't really have a geographic region to go in. I guess you could really put them in upstate, but I've got them in the Midlands area. And that'll be it for football this coming week, the games. I will have football in the Midlands. The week 2 issue will be out Wednesday. All you have to do to get it is just come on to Twitter at SC Varsity, and it will be pinned to the top. If you go right now, you'll see the week 1 issue is still pinned to the top of that Twitter timeline. Give us a follow. We'll have updates all week and previews and top players and players of the week and all kind of good stuff that you'll see there. All you got to do is click on it. Some of the stuff leads back to our website, scvarsity.com. If you haven't checked that out, check it out. Also be doing a podcast. I believe we're going to do it on Thursdays. It'll be Football in the Midlands podcast. We'll go over some of the games that are coming up on Friday night. We'll do a little bit more of the statewide stuff. We'll do the rankings, and we'll do some coaches interviews and player interviews and stuff like that. So you should tune in. Listen, I'm Jim Baxter. Appreciate you joining me for the Sunday Drive. Have a great week.
If you got the time,